forward. You cannot look back. Everything you see is an illusion. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Help when you can. Give when you can. Smile when you can. Cry when you can. Darkness is temporary. A bad mood can't win the light.
Pisa nawe wazangie lela nawe wazana mawae kasiko pesa mokongote munana ngaye anananananananana aye ye mawae
Good evening, friends. Thank you so much for joining us once again on Drizzles of Joy. I'm quite excited to be having you. I'm quite excited to be joining you in your living rooms. And I believe that today we're going to enjoy the session that we're having today. Well, today I'm not doing a profiling, but we will be having a conversation. I've got a friend that is joining me, and I believe that we're going to enjoy this time. So as I've said before, Drizzles of Joy, it's actually a platform whereby we are able to discuss issues that are surrounding us, and mostly, which is my passion, to actually talk about issues that are around us within the church and things like that. But today, I'm quite excited. I've got a friend with me, and we're going to be addressing some few issues that, we come across as pastor's wife. She's a pastor's wife. I'm a pastor's wife, and we'll be sharing our stories. We'll be sharing our challenges, and please engage with us. Let's have a conversation. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think for me, Drizzles of Joy is all about having honest conversations and being able to empower each other and making sure that we reach the great goals that we want to reach. But at the moment, I just want to welcome Mrs. Jabulile Lifu. I call her Jabs because she's my friend. So if along the way I say Jabs, don't mind me, because she's still a pastor's wife, and she's married to Muruti Lifi. But Jabs, just say hi to the viewers at home, and just introduce yourself briefly.
Okay, thank you so much, Winnie Mamuruti Mukhodzi. And I think as well, along the way, I will be saying a lot of Winnie because that's how we normally have our chats, which are offline. So but thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Jabuleli Fu. I'm a pastor's wife. I've been a pastor's wife for 13 years and counting. I'm a child of God first and foremost, and yeah, I'm a mother of four, and my family and I live in Alberton. So yeah, we are part of an organization called IAG, International Assemblies of God, and that's where we serve as pastor and pastor's wives.
Great. Thanks, Jabs, for joining me. I'm quite excited to be having you on Drizzles of Joy this evening. And I believe that our conversation will be able to open up to other conversations going forward. But mainly today, I want us, to share our stories and be able to encourage, other people. And obviously, we will be talking about other issues that actually affect us as being part of the pastor's family. But firstly, maybe I'm going to share a little bit about my story, where I come from, because today I personally know that, you got married to somebody that you knew was a pastor. But with me, my husband was a pastor, but he didn't even have a church for that matter. But a little bit about me. So I'm Winnie Mokgotsi, and I'm married to Thabo Mokgotsi, Reverend Thabo Mokgotsi. And we've been married for 17 years this year. And the interesting part about my journey is that when I got married, I was 26, hey? I was 26 years of age, and my husband was 27. You don't want to know how old I am today, but we thank the Lord for his grace that we have made it this far. So when we met, my husband was actually an assistant pastor at a church in Soweto, and he was assisting Muruti Maseko. So for me, it was a bit of comfort, you see, because when I joined not expecting to be leading our own church, but being under that covering of someone being the leader, and we are just assisting. So that's where I come from. But interesting part is that along the way, my husband hit for the call to be able to start the work of God. But we are actually blessed with 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And yeah, so tell us about you. When did you get married? At what age did you get married?
Oh, are we gonna go to the age part?
No, you can pass it.
I was very young when I got married. You guys were actually there at the wedding, and you did some of the hard work on the day. But yeah, I was very young. It was in 2006 when I got married to Muruti, and I was a sister in the church, ushering, and Reverend Muruti Lifu was there as my pastor. And next thing, he comes to me and he says he loves me and he wants to marry me. I'm like, what? Me? I mean, there are a lot of ladies here and you choose me. and it was like, okay, Lord, may your will be done. But in my heart, somehow, I had known that I knew that I would be married to a pastor and I would be full-time in the ministry as time goes. I'm still not full-time, I'm working, but I'm working towards being full-time with him. But before he came, that was something that was known to me. I knew that I had to, it was pressed in my heart. It wasn't, I don't know how to explain it, but anyway, I was 20 years old and I got married at 21 and I became a pastor's wife. We moved from Tembisa, the mission house there. We're living there. As soon as we got married, he was in the mission house. Then I also lived with him in the mission house for a few months. And then we moved to Thokoza. We were transferred by our district leaders at the time. They transferred us to Thokoza, and that's where we've been since that faithful year by the grace of God. So yeah, that's where we are. I was 20 years old, believe it or not. On the day of the wedding, he actually gave me, I get about when you turn 21, they give you the key. So it's like, There's the key. You are now 21, and not only was I 21, but I was now a wife to someone, and also a pastor's wife on
Yeah.
that day.
So it's quite interesting because, you got married at 21, I got married at 26, but obviously with us, 2 years after we got married, actually for the first 2 years, we served under Muruti Maseko and Mamuruti Maseko, and well, it was an enjoyable journey, and obviously it was a learning journey for me, because what I've realized is that, because with me, I was in Rustenburg, and then obviously by the time I came here, it was like about 3 months or 5 months after we got married, and then I was integrated into the church. But as I said, obviously being integrated in a church where there's a lead pastor and we are just being assistants, I think it was a little bit easier in that way. But 2 years later, when my husband said he wanted to start a church, I think that's where excuse me, the transition started to happen, because I had to prepare my mind, I had to prepare myself for this journey that God had prepared for me. But really I was scared, number one, and number two is that I didn't know that whether I'm capable of being a Mamuruti, and really for me that transition was a bit of a challenge, but I guess that trusting in the Lord, and I was not even a public speaker for that matter. I couldn't speak in front of people. I was like one of those that sat at the back at church. If you give me something to do that I don't have to be in the face of people, I would gladly do it. Tell me to go cook in the kitchen, I'll cook. Tell me to do other things where I'm not in the, forefront, I would do it. But so that for me, that transition was quite challenging. But I don't know how I made it, but I believe that it was all by the grace. But I don't know, on your side, having to transition from working under in Tembisa under Muruti Vilakazi and moving into a church whereby you are expected to be a Mamuruti, standing on your own. How was that?
Oh, shoot. It was a challenge. It was a challenge because one day you are a sister and the next day you are expected to be a wife to someone, and you don't even know. As soon as you walk into the church doors, you don't even know what to do. You don't even know what to do, how to do it. You know nothing. It's just like a blank canvas. You know nothing. So the transition for me was like that. But what I remember is that, and like you said, you were assisting, and you guys were kind of in the background. My husband was also helping Muruti Vilakazi, and I was in the ushering department doing so much. I was also in the youth leadership at the time, and that for me, when I look at it now, it's that type of a thing where in the Bible you see David shepherding, and next thing he is the king of Israel. He's the king, and you see Moses shepherding his father's flock. So and next thing he has to move people from one destination to another. So there's somehow a trial thing that goes on. So with me, taking care or being a part of a team, I was the chairperson of the youth at that time, being in Tembisa and doing all of that. I believe God was preparing me for something greater. He was preparing me for ministry, was preparing me for Tokosa and everything else that would happen this side of the world. And I thank him for that. So we got like a trial run, even with you. I think by the grace of God, all of us, God invests something in all of us. Then it lies dormant until that time when you actually say yes to Muruti Mohozi. I say yes to Muruti Lifu. Then camels start rising up. Things start happening in the spiritual realm. Sometimes you don't even see it, but things start connecting. And that thing inside of ya go rata batho. I know, for example, when we got married, you guys were there for us, and such a loving couple. We saw you guys inviting us to your home, re fetsa go nyala, you know, and doing a lot of wonderful things that we were not even used to. So God puts such things, such traits, He invests a lot of things in us that sometimes lie dormant in our infancy stages up until that time when we say yes to something and they come alive. So I believe we all have a trial period which prepares us. I mean, Peter, look at him in the Bible. He
Yeah.
was a fisherman, but Jesus changed him to be a fisher of men. So he had a trial period. He was doing what he thought was his normal work, but God knew that he would stand before multitudes and preach the gospel. Same with you. You're a brilliant cook. You do so much. You are hospitable because God knew that one day you would be a mother to, or a mother in the faith for people. You would be that person that people would have to look up to and sit down with and share their life experiences with, and actually rely on you to help them in their spirituality. I believe we all have trial periods, and I
Yeah.
had it, and it was my transition.
True. And I fully agree with that, because obviously, you know, in the process, you start learning, you start developing yourself to be able to be that suitable partner that
Yeah.
God has created you to be. And you know, obvious and you know, like as I'm looking at this, I've been having conversations with pastors' kids, and someone uttered some words to say that, you know, pastors' kids are actually pastors because they were born into this thing. And you know, you look at yourself as a young lady, you get married to a pastor. Obviously, I believe that when we got married to these pastors, we never actually knew that you know, there are other challenges that comes with this title. But firstly, I just want to also acknowledge all our viewers to say welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we are having a conversation. Please engage with us as we share. If you have questions that you want to ask us, please feel free to do so. Then we can be able to address them as we go. So as I said, you know, so we didn't actually expect that, you know, along the way, probably there will be challenges, you know, that overwhelms us. And but you know, as you say, I've seen that God can use anyone and anything that He wants to use for,
Yeah.
you know, to work in the to allow His ministry to grow. So if it's a ministry of fishing people, God can put you in that ministry for you to do that, and He will equip you, because you know, the equipping of the saints, the equipping of a person goes along with time as well. And I believe that, you know, throughout the time that we have spent in this marriages, God has equipped us in a way or another. And obviously, looking back to where you come from and looking back where you are, you can see that you have grown in some way or another. But while we are on that, you know, obviously coming into a church, there's great expectation from the people that you are leading. And for me, I think the greatest challenge that I came across was having to lead the women. And you know, finding yourself being a young person amongst bomme ba bagolo that have, you know, walked the journey far longer than you did, and having to deal with it, because obviously being a wife to their leader, you are expected to do these things. And somehow I've seen a lot of pastors' wife, you know, not being able to rise to the challenge. And really, for me, I came to a point where I realized that I have to actually equip myself in study and in other ways, you know, being part of other women to be able to grow and to be able to be of assistance to those that I'm leading. And that's why at some point I was able to go and study the word and do Bible studies. And I don't know on your side, you know, how you were able to deal with those expectations that you had.
Yeah. Shoot. There were definitely expectations, and some were communicated, others were not. And if something is not communicated, you don't know if you're doing right or wrong. For those that were communicated, I remember when we were introduced go IAG Togoza Assembly then, one of the elderly ladies came to me and she said, she's so excited that finally Banali Mamuruti and they can be nursed and taken care of. And I had just lost my mother at the time, and I was thinking, wait a minute, I need that. I need that right now from you, or anyone. I need that. I need that, mothering. And now I am the mother. It didn't make sense at all. But as you say, along the way, we learn so much. We get to be equipped, and I believe God is very patient with us, and the grace of God is sufficient for us. I thank Him for that. So from that time when I knew they wanted me to rise up and be Mamuruti Wahonen and take care of the department in a way, the women's department, I did not shy. I did not shy back, and that's when we as we're saying about those things that come alive when the situation needs them to be. So those things, leadership, and all of that, it had to. I mean, I was also in the debating team, and I did a lot of things for Tembisa High. So I believe God was shaping me somehow for that particular moment where that elderly woman came and she said, "We are so glad that you are here, Renali met today." And I had to say to myself, I really don't know how to do it, but he was there every step of the way, and it was a trial and error thing. And I've stepped on some toes, not knowing, and I've had people step on my toes as well, but the grace of God is sufficient. Here we are 13 years later, and I am still taking care of the women's department, and as a committee, I'm the director, but also, so that's what I do. And I'm also the ex-officio, meaning I'm part of the church board by virtue of being a pastor's wife. And those are some of the responsibilities I do at IG Cornerstone Assembly. But truly, truly, expectations were there. And for those that were known, I was good because I knew what was expected. And those that I didn't know, I think I actually failed them because I did not know about them. And life goes on. And God makes all things work together for good at the end. And here we are by the grace of God. It's still going on by the grace of God.
I see there's some people watching here, and I just want to acknowledge my mother, Mampindile Maseko. I served under her, so she was quite inspirational in my journey as a pastor's wife, and truly, seeing her being there, doing the work, Mamuruti Maseko is one of those people that is hands-on, and I've seen her do that, and really seeing her doing the work in that way has really shaped me as a person. Thanks, Mama, for watching. And then we've got Dottie Innovations. He's asking a question. What are the specific challenges that affected you individually as you transitioned into handling a church? So maybe I'll give it to you, Mamuruti Lifu, and then I'll answer after you.
Winnie. What's that, Tom?
Okay.
Oh, no, it's fine. For me, I think the biggest challenge was the age issue. I didn't tell a lot of people how old I was for some time because I knew others would not even care to know that I can do the work or not just because they saw a young person. And straight up from the word, you see God speaking to his servant saying, do not say you are young. I am sending you. Do not say you I am, because it's not an age issue. But sometimes and somehow people make it an age issue. So age for me was a challenge. I was 21 years old when I was first called Mamuruti Lifu. All this time, kile Jabulile, kile Jack, kile sister Jabulile, and 21 years old of age, I had to rise up to the occasion. And I have not looked back. And I truly don't want to shy away from anything, because I know God goes on before or ahead of us. Or before us, for that matter. So age was an issue with how people perceive, like, what can you teach us? You are young. And God helps us so much, because you don't really necessarily have to say to a 60-year-old, you are my daughter. No, the word of God, Paul teaches that the young ones are your sisters and brothers. And the younger ones are then your children in the faith, those you are bringing. Everyone else, yes, you are leading them alongside your husband, or as a pastor, a lady pastor, whatever, it's fine. But the elderly ones, you have to give them respect. You have to honor them. I came in with that strategy. I respect even the smallest child, Sunday school. Give them time, give them hugs, talk to them, give them high fives, and all of them. Baba Holo, I would give them the respect that was due. I did not see them as my spiritual children. In fact, I had to go in as a twofold thing, as a child to them, but also, or a daughter, whatever they would have wanted to call me, but also as their leader. So, and others were discerning enough to give me my place and say, Mama, Mama Ruth, and all. But I did not let that get, all up in my head to say, Mama, wabo mama. They were older, some older than my mother who had passed. So I had to know they are my mothers, and I have sisters, and I also have daughters, people that I'm intentionally grooming. So age was a challenge, and spirituality. Like, yo, where do I start? You want that powerful prayer that shakes mountains. And years later, Mudimu to see the we are no longer shying away from these things. We take it head on. We are like, if they say preach, they throw you in there. You preach, because you are only a vessel. You are only a weapon in the hands of God. If they say sing, Toma chorus, the chorus leaders are you do that, because you know that the grace of God is sufficient. And not that you want to be a jack of all trades, but you find yourself fitting in and closing gaps, because as well, the burden, ministry, the burden of the vision, all those untold things that your husband tells you in secret. So know the weight of the ministry. So I would say for now, let me just talk about age and the fact that I had to grow up spiritually and take it seriously, and not just I had to be above and not just be like, okay, no. For whom much is given, much is required. I had to start eating the word, start praying, start cultivating that thing, and my husband helped me so much with that. So
True. I agree, because like, obviously you need to step up, and as I said earlier, for me it was this situation whereby at church I would serve, but more in the background. But like now, you are in the forefront. You need to be that person that people look up to, and truly in that way, you kind of like push yourself a little bit more to be able to understand more and do the right thing. And truly, that's why I say that, for me, I think the same as you, my husband was very supportive. I remember I did my Bible study under him as my teacher. And sometimes I would feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. But he pushed me. He pushed me and made it a point that I complete my studies, and I finished my 2 years diploma. And I really, really want to thank God for this man, because really, I think without him spiritually, I would have struggled, but he always was there to be able to support me. And we've got a question here from we've got a question. It says from Murutika, it says, what can we as your husband do to enable you to be the better you in your journey of serving God? I think for me, on my side, it's just the support, when especially around, the house and the support around the kids. I think by that kind of a support for me, it's what would help, because sometimes you feel that kids are a little bit, they get a bit lonely when daddy's always doing church chores. I mean, me and you, we know your husband is he's the district vice president. My husband is a district secretary. We've got churches. On my side, it's even worse because my husband has got a full-time job. So, he needs to juggle all these things. But obviously, bridging that gap for the kids to be able to be comfortable, to know that daddy is there. And I personally understand, because the pressures of work, the pressures of church, it doesn't allow one enough time in a day to be able to be all that, but really that support, it's one thing that I believe every pastor's wife need. And I don't know about you, Jabs.
Yeah. No, definitely. As you say, I mean, especially if we have to do a task, to know that our husbands are covering another end. So we definitely need that. Not as well because I see myself as a teacher of the word. I actually enrolled as well with Northwest University to do a course there, and so that helped. It helped a lot, and it still helps because I'm still in it. We get to sit down, and you don't have a lot of other books. You have your Bible in the class, you have all of that, and you start then sharpening this gift, this talent that God has given you, this calling. But you need to bounce off some things on your heart. You're like, okay, so this, what happens with that? I do that a lot of times. If I have a preaching engagement, I speak to him as well, as much as I pray and I do all of other things. So he makes my role as a pastor's wife and someone trying to figure out how do I fit in as an individual as well, in my personal capacity, because yes, I can be a pastor's wife, meaning I support him in his work, but I see myself as a teacher of the word, and that has to come alive, that has to be nurtured and grown, and I have to take time to actually do that, because we wear many caps, as you know, we wear many caps, and so I see him helping me a lot. I sit down with him, I'm like, look, I have to talk to you about this, and this, here's the theme that I was given, here's the topic, here's the title, please help me. And he does that a lot. So I bounce off a lot of things, and I see him guiding me and navigating it and helping him and praying for me as well. By the way, I'm that type of a wife who actually, as we submit, you just kneel down and you're like, please pray for me, my husband, I'm about to go preach. So I do all of those things sometimes. Like even today, I was like, love, as you know, Horika 60, there's this and that, please pray for me. So sometimes I kneel down, sometimes it becomes dramatic, because he's the husband. He has to feel like, yeah, you doing this, and I've got your back. And he's still the pastor. He's still my husband. I honor him. He's the head of the family. So they help a lot. Pastors help a lot in the spiritual part, the spiritual sense of things, but also with the home household things as well. He helps as well with bathing the 4 kids in the morning. He's been doing that for many years, and that gives me a relief so that I can breathe and have my me time as well.
Yeah, I know. Since I had my little boy, I don't wake up at night. My husband is the one that wakes up, tend the boy, make sure that he's covered. So I think for me that is like a big help, and I really appreciate that. We've got a question from Dottie Innovation again. He says some ladies wish so much to be pastor's wife. What are the realities behind the scene that affects pastor's wife? So for me, I think there's a lot of things, and I think it's one of the topics that I wanted to touch on as we go along. But I think he's actually pushing me to be able to talk about this particular one. So I think there's a lot of things. So I've seen that with pastors, you know, because they pray for people, because they are always there, you know, to support families and things like that. We as the pastor's family, we don't get, you know, to get that counsel from other people, and sometimes I think it's also difficult for other, you know, for a pastor to give counsel to another pastor, which I have seen that happen quite a lot. And you know, to share a little bit of a story, you know, like a couple of years back, we went through a very traumatic time with my husband, and we lost our mother. And, you know, during that time, the funny part is that we had a wedding at church, and people knew at that time that we were grieving. We having, you know, this challenge that is facing us. But funny enough, no one could come and counsel us and say, you know, be strong. You don't even have to do the wedding. Maybe we can find someone to do the wedding. You know, the people that are having the wedding would come to the house and act as if really nothing has happened. It's like, "Ha Moruti le kae? We here to talk about the wedding," and you know, obviously they don't understand what you're going through. And I think at that time, for me, my challenge was that, is my husband going to cope with this? Because, you know, he was very close to his mother, and now the lady's gone, but, you know, people don't understand what we're going through. It's like, you know, you find yourself in the space where you are a bit lonely because, you know, no one can counsel you. And people, I don't know if people don't have words to say to you, or they're not sure what to say, or they're thinking, you know what, you are fine. You've done this many a times and you should be okay. You should be covered. And for me, I think those are some of the things that really tends to worry me a bit, to say that, you know, are we really having, you know, the real conversations to say that pastors' families are human as well, and they go through any other challenge that any person can go through. And, you know, at some point or another, you know, we also need counsel. But I understand the fact that we get our counsel from the Lord. He gives us strength, he gives us wisdom, but still we are human. That doesn't change the fact that we are human.
No, definitely. Phew. Well, you know, I remember when Moruti Thabo lost Mama, and it was a challenging time for you guys. And even though we were there, sometimes you don't know what to say. And I think that's how church members feel as well when we go through things. They don't know how to mourn with us. They don't know how to give back what has been given to them, or what is continually given to them. That's why we, you know, how I see it is that we need to look outside of the church. For example, you may be having marital things with your husband, and you need counsel. You need to sit down with someone to help you. It's not easy to find a pastor, a couple that can sit down with you, and especially because we are mostly surrounded by peers. Now, you know us, it's like, you know, we need this and that and that. But it's not as formal as having sessions and all of that. My husband and I actually went out. We've got Baruti with our marital things, if we don't see things, because we know that it's the little foxes that ruin the vineyard. So when we have challenges, or something more speculating, and we need mediation, we have Bomuruti, Pastor Chetty, Lima Muruti Chetty. We are name dropping today. So they help us so much, and they help us. We also sometimes call Bomuruti Lebelo, like, yeah, living any city, so now help us out. So you must have those people that you can point to, and that's just for the marital part. But I know that when I am facing whatever it is, I can just talk to you. I can talk to Mam Konazi, and I have other people that may not be pastors' wives who are not in the church, but people that I can say, you know, Le Zaza, those were my bridesmaids, and I've been with them since Kisalisis, and Zaza is married, Lele is not, but somehow I can bring to them what's bearable to them and be like, please pray for this. They love God, so we need to surround ourselves with people who can play that part. They don't necessarily have to be from the church, because then people from the church sometimes don't know as well. They don't know as well. They really don't know what to say. They don't know you in that state. When Mama Ruti Blazi passed just a few days ago, I was devastated, Winnie. I was like, yo, what is happening? I was crying. And I had one of our church board ladies call us, and she called me. I cried, and I had to apologize to her, but I was like, wait a minute. I am allowed to cry. I was like, I told her. And even now, just talking about it makes me so emotional, because like you had Mama Ruti Maseko, I had Mama Ruti. She set an example. She was the closest image or picture that I could refer to Hakibuaka Mama Ruti. I knew she would stand up boldly and do what needed to be done without shying off. So I took some of the things, Tabu Mama Ruti, from her. And when I was like, then what? So my heart was painful. And and surprisingly, it was the first time she was like, Mama, it's fine, it's fine. And someone else called as well. I cried on the phone. I didn't even want to answer calls. And you just said it now, about grieving. Well, how do you grieve? And because it's not, if you don't show the need, then they will talk about their marriages that are coming. Then they will talk about other things. And sometimes Bazalani don't even see that. The reality is, Dottie, is that we hunger, we thirst, we get cold, we get sometimes akuna electricity ko matlung amang, sometimes akuna dijo kona le anyo se fela ko fridging, sometimes akuna, those are the realities. But they don't take away from the fact that we are anointed, called by God, called to serve a generation. And we may not go and say, electric is beeping to you, church board member, to you, to you, sister, to you, brother. You call us and you're like, Mom, to write it during lockdown. Yes, ki write 100%. Haki drop up phone. I'm like, let me make this ends meet. The reality is, we pay tax, we pay all of that. We do all of that. What affects them affects us. And we are not going to put on a weight on them. They must just figure it out. We personally, I don't believe in just, bringing things out there to people that you should be taking care of. We must not lord over them. We must not take advantage of. And that's why I don't even do those business things, because somehow they feel obliged for you. No. But outside of the church, we will look, because I don't want to jeopardize this special sensitive thing that's happening in the church. And it's not about me. We are just leaders. That's all. So we thirst. We get hungry. We get cold. We go through difficulties. We go to medical challenges. We go through school fees issues. What you go through, we go through it as well. The only thing is that we can just talk to Winnie and be like, Winnie, this is what's happening. Mom Connors, this is what's up. But I will never ever say, church board member, this is what's up. Because we need to somehow maintain that godly order. It's not wrong.
I fully agree. I fully agree, because obviously we try and protect them from our heads, and it's a big challenge, because and for me, I'm glad that you're saying this out, and it would be good. I see Kifilo is actually asking a question. She says, how can the church make this journey easier for you? And then there's another question that comes from her. And then she says, so much is usually expected from you as Boma Muruti, but what are your expectation from the church or people you are leading? And truly, I think if only the church can understand the burden that is on us, because many a times you should I say, you pastor people in the church. Some of them, you take them in as your own children. But, at the end of the day, they go out and, maybe they go speak bad about you, but you still have to maintain that authenticity of the fact that you know what, you can't hate them. You really can't hate them, because God has not called us to be, to deal with things in that way. But, you continually love them, you continually embrace them, even if they go and come back. You need to really remain in that posture to be able to embrace and love. And for me, what the church can understand is that we are human, just like any other person in the church. And as you said earlier, Jabs, that, if they can understand the fact that we are also human, we thirst, we've got responsibilities, we've got things that we need to meet, just like anyone in the church. And, we don't become judgmental, because that's not what God has called us to be. If one comes with their challenges, we need to embrace and be able to protect and make sure that, people are well. And for me, how the church can be able to assist me and make my work easier is to embrace me as a person and understand that I'm human. I've got flaws. Where I falter, they should be able to forgive me as much as I would forgive them when they falter.
Forgiveness.
Yes, because when you are a Mamuruti, you say something, it's just held against you, and you leave the church because Mamuruti Urili, and it becomes quite challenging, because I might say something that is not, comfortable with someone, but it also helps for them to open up and talk to us like their mothers in the church, like their sisters in the church, whatever the case, or their children if they are older than us in the church. And for me, that openness, that relationship, that open relationship that we can be able to have with them and be open with one another where we, kind of falter, I think last word as we wrap up.
Okay, time. This is very interesting. We could go on and on like we normally do offline. and it's not out of anger or bitterness. Please get that right. It's because sometimes you just need someone who understands to be like, no, you know what? We're fighting the same enemy. We will overcome. So lastly, I just want to say, being human and all of that does not take away from the fact that we are called. We are called, and much is expected from us. And we should not come across as weaklings or people by we are called of God, and God takes care of his own. God provides for us. He may give someone an opportunity to be a channel of blessings, a channel of blessing to their pastor. If they don't take it up, it's fine. God moves on. He will bring someone else to do that. And so God definitely takes care of us. The realities are there, but more than that, the grace of God is sufficient. His hand is upon us. He guides and leads us, even though we falter and we do so many wrong things. And Baba, when some people are not so forgiving when we are expected to be, and we're not gonna generalize about anything, because as much as some pastors are hated, judged, looked down on, spoken bad of, together with their families and their children, as much as they are criticized and just baba khwelamati, baba nyatsa, baba flocker, and doing all of that, there are those pastors who are loved, taken care of, supported, prayed for, and just taken care of, support more than anything, because you need someone who will run with the vision. So we're not generalizing, but we thank God for the bitter and the sweet. Both makes us strong, and the grace of God is sufficient. I wish we had more time, my friend, to discuss these things, but we normally do all that.
I'll give us 2 minutes. There's one last question. It says, how do we deal with the backstabbers and backbiters from congregants and fellow pastors? So, and I think this is a difficult one, because really the Bible, orders us to love, and, as Christ loved the church. We have sinned before God. But God continued to love us, despite our sinful nature. And I personally believe I'm one person, I've got so much love for people, whereby even when people do bad unto me, I don't know how to hate them. I just don't know how. And it becomes quite challenging when you see someone backstabbing you. It can be a congregant, it can be another pastor. And how do we deal with this? Personally, I don't have that, that ability to hate. I don't have that ability to I just let it go and let God be. And I don't know on your side how you deal with it.
Okay. Before we are pastors' wives, we are children of God, and they're just biblical things that God wants for us to do, all of us, the body of Christ. And God builds our character daily. So when people do you wrong, the best weapon, well, I thank God for where I can just go and be like, Mama, this is what's happening. And I don't go there as a weakling or as someone who's just, I just say, what do we do as an elder in the church? What do we do? Sister Kiwa, she's acting up. I don't know what's happening. She's like, Mom, please, let's pray about it. I'm like, next thing I'm calling, I'm like, Mama, some approaches after church C3, C2, and then C3, C solve. And you just let it be. People are out there to hate you for no reason. Some of them. Some of the people are out there to hate you for no reason. You have to be mature about it and know that some of them are being used by the enemy to discourage you, and may not even be aware. They're just too open to the spiritual, they're being used and they may not even be aware. And others are genuinely not aware that what they did was, so you get different people and you deal with each one differently. But I thank God for the elders, especially as I speak first with her. And if she still does not hear me out, then I bring in an elder to help resolve the issue. They are always there, but the grace of God is sufficient. And just as God is patient with us, we need to be patient with the congregants. They will leave, they will come, it's fine. Let them find us having open arms for them, ready to receive them back.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Jabs. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I think we will have more of this. I think there's a lot of things to talk about, but we'll have more of this as we continue in this journey of Drizzles of Joy. But as I said, Drizzles of Joy is all about, speaking to issues. I work for a company and I've learned that having honest conversation helps us to grow. And if we are able to take in the honest conversations, is able, then we're able to actually reach that which God has called us for. And truly, for me, it's all about having this conversation, and I would want to also have this conversation with some pastors, and we build each other as the children of God. I believe that we have been called into this mission for a purpose. It's not just, but we are there also to be able to support one another and to be able to build one another. And we can only build one another by having honest conversation. The last comment from Mampindile Masekwe says, before we are pastor's wife, we are God's children. On point. So truly, that's a fact that we are all children of God, and we need to all understand that. Thank you so much for watching, and we really appreciate all our listeners. And then lastly, Mam Lifu has got a book that she's written for all the young pastors' wives. I think it's a nice book to actually read. The title shift. So she also have it on ebook. If you wanna order, please contact her. We will also put the details on our chat. Then you can be able to contact her directly for your copy. And then on my side, Jabs, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Please pass our love to the family and the kids. We love you dearly. May the good Lord richly, richly bless you. So thank you so much for being with us. And as I have mentioned that, we having this conversation and this platform, we're building on this platform to be able to engage and be able to have honest conversations with you, especially conversations that affect us as children of God within the church. And that I have written a book. It's called to be a Pastor's Kid. This book, Bazalwane, it's not a book for pastors' kids. It's a book for all of us as a church. And I believe that it's a book that will be able to help us to have those, conversations that will lead us to build a better church. Please get yourself this copy. As I said, it's not for pastors' kids, but it talks about all the issues that we'll keep on discussing along the way. And it's a guide for us to be able to start having those conversations. So please get yourself a copy. You can inbox me and we will arrange for your copy to be delivered. I've got lots of copies available. Please get yourself one. It is definitely a book to read. And looking forward to meeting with you again next week. Have a lovely evening. May the Lord richly bless you. Have a lovely evening. Bless you.